Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to My Overly Competitive Life. I'm Charles Chapman. Um, NFL Draft, round one, in the books. We're going to get into first round draft grades this morning, and it definitely didn't disappoint last night. Lots of virtual stream. There were some concerns on Monday that they might not be able to pull it off without a hitch. As far as I know, I haven't heard anything in terms of was there any problems with communicating picks, getting them in, or stream glitches or anything like that. I didn't really see anything from on my end from what I was watching. Haven't heard anything yet on Twitter or Facebook or ESPN or anything like that in terms of that. I guess we'll find out later this afternoon if there was anything, or maybe after the weekend, to see if there was anything the NFL needed to address on after round one, heading into rounds 2 and 3, and so on and so forth the rest of the weekend. A record 15 players were taken in round one from the Southeastern Conference. They get to continue their domination of college football. 15 selections in round one in 30 out of 32 picks. That's a really big deal there. Not a lot of draft trades last night, which wasn't surprising to me, because when you consider the gamble that it takes when you trade into back into round one, or trade down, this and that. There's a risk that comes with that, and you have to be really sure that you're going to get the guy you want when you're trading up or trading down, when you're making those trades, that the capital that you're giving up, whether it's draft capital or players or money, is worth the risk you're taking to get to the spot you're at. And if you haven't had a chance to scout the guys like they have with COVID-19, it's not really worth the risk at all to kind of trade up and down and all that stuff. So it wasn't surprising to me that we didn't see a lot of draft trades. But, yeah, and a lot of guys didn't expect certain players to end up in certain spots, certain guys taken a little bit earlier than they should have, some guys taken later than they probably should have, and I thought that was a little surprising. One of the biggest ones for me was the number of CBs that were taken, a lot of defensive backs that were taken in round one that had round two grades on them, and so certainly teams looking to fill their needs on day one at the defensive back spot rather than wait for Friday night. For tonight. So, like I said, draft grades, everybody's got them. I've got mine right here. I'm going to come out and give you guys. I'm going to go down the draft order of every team and kind of give you who they took and what I thought as far as the draft picks were going. And so let's get to it. And hopefully, I'd love to hear your thoughts when it's all said and over. We'll see if we agree. But first up, the Cincinnati Bengals. They've known since the national championship, probably even before that, who they were going to take with the number one pick. And they got their guy, Joe Burrow, quarterback from LSU. Definitely the safest pick as far as I'm concerned. The best quarterback in this draft. It's not a very deep draft class, if you ask me. I think outside of Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, a lot of the other guys really are a bit of a gamble in this draft, especially with COVID-19, not being able to actually get your hands on guys like Tua, who has got the number of injuries that he had in college. So, and then Jordan Love, a guy that had a great year in 2018, not a great year in 2019. So kind of one of those guys you can't get in and do your own workouts with. So definitely a concern there. But Joe Burrow, definitely the best pick in terms of quarterbacks. And then the Bengals, I think they're not sold on Andy Dalton. A lot of people have kind of said Andy Dalton's done, I guess. So we'll see what happens with that. They got their guy. I give the Cincinnati Bengals, this was their only pick in round one. I give them an A+ grade for going out and getting their guy and not fumbling this pick, not trading it away and getting nothing in return, anything like that. So that's Cincinnati Bengals at 1. At 2, the Washington Redskins. The only pick they had in the draft tonight was early at number 2. They took Chase Young, no surprise, the defensive end from Ohio State. A guy that very could have easily, in any other year, could have easily been the number 1 pick if he had a chance for more private workouts with Cincinnati and Detroit, the Giants, the Dolphins, somebody that might have wanted to move up to number 1 to get him, or even move into the number 2 spot to get him. But Young can transform that Redskins defense as a rookie in a pretty much the weakest defense in the NFL right now, aside from the AFC East, I guess. But the NFC East, the worst division in the East, and the NFC for sure. It's a weak division. It's full of really good quarterbacks, some really good wide receivers there. Chase Young is the kind of guy that can probably get after a quarterback or two, and I'd like to see what he can do in the NFL with the Redskins. So great pick there. I give him an A+ grade for getting that guy, because that's going to be a guy that's going to be good for them. The Detroit Lions picking up Jeff Okudah from Ohio State, defensive back, without a doubt the best defensive back in this draft. They needed to replace, at number 3, they needed to replace the loss of Darius Slay to the Philadelphia Eagles. So picking up Jeff Okudah is definitely the best pick for them. I like that pick for the Lions, for the Detroit Lions, so I give them an A+ grade with that. The New York Giants at number 4, they're only picking tonight. Bit of a reach, bit of a stretch. They took Andrew Thomas, a tackle from Georgia, and I like Andrew Thomas, don't get me wrong, definitely a good tackle. The best tackle that Georgia's had. He's anchored that defense, or that offensive line, excuse me. He's anchored that Bulldog offensive line for 3 years. And been to a national championship, won an SEC title, played in a couple of SEC title games, so the guy's had some success. He knows what he's doing. I'm Phil. Wills from Alabama and Becton from Louisville were the better tackles on the board here, as well as Wirf from Iowa. So this is a guy that could anchor the Giants' offensive line and help them out. It fills a need that they've definitely had. Offensive line has not been very good for a long time, and for the last 8 years, in fact, for the Giants since they won the Super Bowl last. So definitely a good pick there. I give them a B, because I felt like this wasn't the best tackle for them. I would have much rather have seen them gone for Wills or Becton, but they get Thomas, good tackle, fills a need, but I give them a B on that grade. The Miami Dolphins. This is going to be the team that everybody said they had they've got 9 first and second round picks in this year's draft and next year's draft. They have more draft capital in rounds 1 and 2 than any team in the NFL over the next 2 years, in 2020 and 2021. And so coming into pick 5, everybody pretty much said they can do what they want with pick 5 because they have all this capital, draft capital. But for me, I feel like they kind of rested on their laurels a little bit, didn't take this as serious as they should have, and they really bombed in round 1. Taking Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback from Alabama. I hate that guy's last name. I cannot pronounce it. Sorry, Tua. But Tua with the 5th pick, I think was the biggest gamble of all in this draft. He's injured. He's injury prone. You can't get your hands on him. You can't put your own doctors to look at him. He says he's healthy. He sends out the videotape that looks good. But you can make yourself look really good when you're filming yourself working out. But when a team is putting you through their workouts with their trainers and their doctors, it's a bit different. So a huge gamble taking Tua here. I would much rather have seen him grab Justin Herbert with this pick if they're really set on a quarterback. I said coming into this draft, I really felt, get you a tackle at 5, because by the time you get to 18, all the best tackles are going to be off the board as far as day 1 starters. You can still get at 18 a pretty good tackle. They got Austin Jackson from USC, which a solid tackle, not the guy I would have wanted to get if I'm Miami and I really want to fill a need on the offensive line. I would have definitely gotten a tackle at 5 and gotten maybe a wide receiver at 18, and that would have been something. You can get a quarterback all you want. If you can't keep them standing upright, and if you can't give them options, weapons to throw the ball to, it means nothing. And Cam Newton and Jameis Winston are still free agents in the NFL free agency. So if they really want a quarterback as a veteran that's proven, they can go get one of those guys and then wait till next year and maybe draft Trevor Lawrence in 2021. But they picked up a defensive back from Auburn. They traded back into round 1, and I'm sorry, no, they had this pick already. They grabbed Noah Igbenogany. I'm pretty sure I butchered that, but it's a defensive back from Auburn. And this was a really surprise for me. I felt like he would have been available in round 2, because all the CBs tonight had round 2 grades, and there were 4 of them that went in round 1, but they all had round 2 grades. So I don't know why people are reaching and panicking and grabbing these picks here. Granted, when you pick a guy at 30, that's not exactly as bit of a reach as some other guys, but 4 CBs went in round 1. 3 of them had round 2 grades, and Noah was one of them. And I really felt like they could have waited until round 2 and taken Noah there. So with all these guys, I give the Miami Dolphins a C+ grade, because I feel like they dropped the ball. And this could have been a great draft for them to move forward. And I feel like they dropped the ball. And in 5 years from now, we're going to be talking about, 3 years from now even, we're going to be talking about how Miami messed up in 2021, unless 2020, unless they recover and they have a good second round, third round, fourth round, fifth round, sixth round, all the way up to 7. We'll see what they do with the rest of their picks, but I am not sold on the guys they took right here. Jackson might be the best one. Noah will definitely be a guy that could probably be pretty good on their defense, but they went up and got him in round 1 instead of getting him in round 2. That was my only gripe with that, but definitely a C+. Grade for them. The Los Angeles Chargers came in and they got 2 guys. Actually, they picking up Justin Herbert with the 6th pick is definitely a pretty great grab. I feel he's far and away the second best quarterback of this draft class. It's not a deep draft class, that's not saying much. But trading back into round 1, this is my favorite deal. Trading back into round 1 to grab Kenneth Murray from Oklahoma. Linebacker from Oklahoma was a great pick, a nice touch. Not exactly blowing you away type guys, but these are guys that can definitely, in the next year, 2, 3, definitely be guys that will probably be anchoring the Los Angeles Chargers for a couple of years. So I give them a B+. Definitely a pretty good draft for them. Not great, but pretty good. Carolina Panthers, their rookie head coach Matt Rule, making some moves in the offseason. So for them, they get a steal at number 8. They pick up Derek Brown, the defensive tackle from Auburn. Far and away, I think is the best defensive tackle in this draft class. And that includes Neville Gallimore from Oklahoma. And I like Gallimore, but Derek Brown blew me away last year. I watched him. He's an amazing, outstanding defensive tackle, and he will be definitely a guy that can anchor that defensive line for years to come and help Matt Rule hopefully stick around in Carolina and not get fired very quickly. Ron Rivera lasted a long time. I think Matt Rule could probably last a long time if this pick works out. I give the Carolina Panthers an A grade for round 1 for picking up Derek Brown. And with the 8th pick, I felt like he could have got it earlier if anybody was looking for a defensive tackle. Definitely a good pick here. The Arizona Cardinals, now they got Kyler Murray. They got their guy last year. So this year, I felt like, the Panthers had the 7th pick, but this is the Arizona Cardinals had the 8th pick, and they get Isaiah Simmons, a linebacker from Clemson, and this is a guy that, is he a slot corner? Is he a nickelback? Is he a safety? Is he a linebacker? Is all these different things. He feels like he's a jack of all trades. He said it himself today or yesterday. So definitely a guy that could very well be a great steal at the 8th spot. But I really felt the Arizona Cardinals to keep Kyler Murray on his feet, get the running game going. It would have been good for them to go out and get Jedrick Wills from Alabama, or Mekhi Becton from Louisville, or Tristan Wirfs from Iowa, to get a tackle to help anchor that offensive line for the next couple of years, to give Kyler Murray some ability to move and ability to stay on his feet and make plays. But Isaiah Simmons, like I said, a steal at 8. He's a great guy. He's going to be a guy that's going to transform that defense because he can do so many different things. And they don't have to leave him at one spot. They can move him all over the field, keep defenses guessing. What is he going to do? Who is he covering? This and that. So I gave them an A-. The Arizona Cardinals an A- for their round 1 draft grade last night. But the Jacksonville Jaguars coming in. This is a deal here where they took 2 guys, and I like the guys they took. I'm just not so sure they should have taken them when they took them. So they took C.J. Henderson, CB from Florida, with the 9th pick. And then they went ahead and grabbed Lavon Kyson, a defensive end from LSU, with the 20th pick. And I felt like, Chyson should have been the guy that they took at 9, and then grab Henderson at 20, because Henderson would have been there at 20. And Chyson should have gone in the top 10. I really feel he's a game changer on defense. He's the kind of guy that can make plays. Definitely 2 picks. I just felt like they should have been the other way around. So because of that gamble there that the Jaguars took that shouldn't have taken, I give the Jaguars a B+ rating. Grade for their first round draft grades. Good picks, just not great order. But the Cleveland Browns at number 10, that was their only pick of the night. They had a huge need on the offensive line, and they filled it. They took Jedrick Wills Jr. from Alabama, an offensive tackle. I would rather have them grab Becton from Louisville here, but they got a solid offensive tackle nonetheless. That's going to keep Baker Mayfield and company running, to help them get running in 2020. But the offensive line last year did not allow Baker time to throw the football, and that was a big thing. Everybody looked at Baker and said, oh, he's bad, he's doing terrible. No, he just didn't have any time to throw. He was getting pass rushed all night long, bull rushed all night long because his offensive line couldn't protect the pass. And so picking up a guy like Jedrick Wills, definitely a game changer for them going forward. That's going to definitely make this what should have been a great Cleveland Brown team in 2019 a much better Cleveland Brown team in 2020, hopefully. I give them, because of this pick, I give them a grade of A for their round 1 pick because they filled a solid need and they filled it quick. The New York Jets, they got the guy I like. They picked Mekhi Becton, the giant but really fast offensive tackle from Louisville. As a matter of fact, he's the fastest guy, the first guy since like 2006 to run a sub-5 40 and weigh as heavy as he does. He weighs somewhere in the 330 range, 340 range, I believe. He was 390 pounds when he came to Louisville and couldn't get through warm-ups. So he's come a long way. He's now a 11th overall pick in the first round of the NFL draft. So he's come a long way since he got on campus at Louisville. Great pick. Would have been a pretty good deal. I think the only thing for me with this one was how surprising it was. Everybody, including myself, had him going wide receiver with this pick, getting either Jerry Jeudy or CeeDee Lamb to help Sam Darnold have somebody to throw the football to. But they get Mekhi Becton. He's going to keep Sam Darnold standing on his feet, so hopefully Sam doesn't throw have as many fumbles or throw as many interceptions. I give the Jets an A- for this pick because I like the pick. Just kind of surprised as to where they went with it. The Oakland Raiders, oh man. Oakland pulled what I thought was a good and a bad draft in the first round. They pulled out a classic Al Davis move by picking Henry Ruggs III from Alabama. He's the third best wide receiver in the class. Everybody really thought the Raiders were going to go Jeudy or Lamb for the pick here, but they go with Henry Ruggs III. They get the fast guy. He ran I think it was a 4.27 40 or something like that. So he's the fastest wide receiver in the draft class. They get him. And Al Davis loved fast wide receivers, so he loved fast players, so he would always go with those guys. So a classic Al Davis pick there. Now they went out ahead and got Damon Arnette with their second pick. And I was not crazy about that pick. I felt like Damon could have been available. He's a defensive back from Ohio State. I felt like he could have been available in round 2 if they really were that interested in fulfilling that need. They didn't get Eli Apple like they wanted to. That whole contract fell apart. It was a very big controversial thing there. Eli was not happy, neither were the Raiders, so the Raiders try to fill that need by picking up Arnette in round 1. And so I love the Ruggs trade, or the Ruggs pick. Picking up Ruggs I felt was an A+ move. Picking Arnette where they did, I felt was a B- move, so balancing it out, I give them an overall grade of a B because of that. Anyway, moving on, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have made some real big momentum moves lately. They won the Tom Brady sweepstakes, the 43-year-old quarterback that a lot of people aren't sold on. Some people are. I, for one, like Tom Brady. I think he's smart enough to be successful at 43, unlike other quarterbacks. I think he's just good at 43. So anyway, they get Gronkowski traded with the New England Patriots to get Rob Gronkowski out of retirement and get him down to Tampa, so that gives the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 3 tight ends, Brate, O.J. Howard, and then, of course, Rob Gronkowski. So Rob Gronkowski injury prone, so we'll see what he can do if he can stay healthy with that 2 other guys to help him out. But one of the really big needs that Tampa Bay needed, besides a running back, you can get a running back in round 2, so there wasn't a need to go grab a running back at this point. They get a steal. They traded up to 13 and grabbed Tristan Wirfs, offensive tackle from Iowa, the 3rd best tackle on this draft. I really liked him, and this should be a pretty good deal. Buccaneers gave up a lot of sacks last year when they had Jameis Winston. I don't know if that was completely offensive line, or if that was just Jameis Winston taking too long to pass the ball. But this would be a good move to keep Tom Brady standing on his feet so he can get the ball to all those offensive weapons that Bruce Arians has at his disposal for Tom Brady. And so I give the Tampa Bay Buccaneers an A- for this pick, just because it fulfills a great need, and even though it's the 3rd best tackle in the draft and everything, but it fulfills a need, and it's a good spot at 13. San Francisco 49ers, they traded from 13 to 14 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and picked up Javon Kinlaw, defensive tackle from South Carolina. And then later, trade back into round 1 and grab Brandon Ayuk, a wide receiver from Arizona State. And for me, at 14, if you really needed a speedy wide receiver to replace the guys you lost, then Jerry Jeudy's on the board, CeeDee Lamb's on the board. You could have had a, from the start, all-pro rookie wide receiver. If you grab one of those two guys, a potential future Hall of Famer maybe, and get one of those two guys, plug them into your offense, and you're back in the Super Bowl next year. But instead, they kind of reached and grabbed Javon Kinlaw at 14. I felt like he would have been available later if they really wanted to trade back into round one. Second best defensive tackle in the class, but that's not saying much. This defensive tackle class there's not a lot of depth to it. Neville Gallimore and Javon Kinlaw, those are the only two other guys that are really all that great, but not first round great. They're second round great or late first round great. So I didn't really like what the 49ers did. I know they've got a lot of guys that they can kind of plug in, so just kind of plugging in extra pieces here. But picking up Brandon Ayuk when they could have had Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb, or CeeDee Lamb kind of bothers me at 14. And Kinlaw was a guy they could have gotten later possibly, or maybe getting Neville Gallimore early in round 2 if they really needed a defensive tackle. So with those two guys, I give them a B- grade. They filled a couple of needs, but they could have gotten some better players to fill those needs if they want to get back to the Super Bowl. Now the Denver Broncos, they went ahead at 15 and went exactly where they went. They were expected to go wide receiver. It was expected in all the mock drafts and projected that they would get Ruggs the third from Alabama, but because Lamb and Jeudy were supposed to be long gone by now off the board, but instead they get a steal here when they get Jerry Jeudy, the best wide receiver in this draft class. They get Jerry Jeudy to complement Courtland Sutton. Sutton's a deep threat. Judy's really good at catching passes underneath, getting wide open. So this was an A+ move for me, and that's their only pick in round 1. So I give them an A+ grade for that. And moving on to the Atlanta Falcons, they had one pick in round 1. Bit of a reach here, I thought. They picked up A.J. Terrell, the defensive back from Clemson. Could have gotten A.J. Terrell later in round 1, or if not, in round 2. But instead, they reached for him here, and I really felt like if they really wanted somebody, they could have gone with Chison from LSU at linebacker if they really needed a linebacker, and get a guy that's a lot more athletic and definitely better. Or if they really needed or go wide receiver and get CeeDee Lamb to sit opposite, play opposite on the other side of the ball, and boom. They would have had set at wide receiver. They'd have two guys, one from Alabama, one from Oklahoma, and two of the best wide receivers. And they would have been pretty good next year in terms of getting that offense back up and running. Instead, they reach for A.J. Terrell, which he's got tackling issues. And so I'm not sold on him at this pick. So I give them a B- for their first round draft grade, simply because they got a good guy, but they could have got somebody better. And the Dallas Cowboys, man, this was one deal. It was speculated that NFC East division rival Philadelphia, the Eagles, would trade ahead of the Dallas Cowboys and grab CeeDee Lamb, but that didn't happen. So Dallas steals him here at 17. They get CeeDee Lamb, the wide receiver out of Oklahoma. An offense with him opposite Mari Cooper, with Zeke in the backfield. Michael Gallup had a great year last year. This gives Dak Prescott some insane weapons this year, and if Dak didn't earn the contract he should have, well, he'll definitely earn it next year after he dominates the NFC East and maybe even the rest of the NFC. We'll see what they do. Defense is still something that the Cowboys will have to fulfill in rounds 2 through 7. But I like this pick for the Cowboys. It's a steal, and it definitely scares me and anybody else that's an NFC guy. I'm a Philadelphia Eagles guy. I love the Eagles, but this is a good pick, a great pick, and it's definitely something that's not what Jerry Jones does. Jerry Jones is apt to blow first-round picks, and he fancies himself as the general manager of the Dallas Cowboys, as well as the owner. He is the owner. I think he should get a better GM, but great pick for him here. He picks up CeeDee Lamb, and so I gave him an A- for this pick. Great first-round grade for him there. The Philadelphia Eagles, on the other hand, the NFC East division rival, they like I said, speculation that they might move up higher in round 1 and grab a different wide receiver, get CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy. But instead, they stood pat at 21. They got the guy that they wanted all along, and Jalen Reagor, a wide receiver from Texas Christian. He's a fast guy, really speedy wide receiver. They lost Nelson Aguilar to the Oakland Raiders, so this is a guy that'll definitely be able to fit well into Peterson's offense and give Carson Wentz an option of somebody to throw to underneath when he's scrambling. So I give them a B plus for this pick simply because I really thought they were going to move up and grab CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy. They didn't. So they get Reagor. Reagor's not bad, but there were other guys that I thought they were going to get. So there's that B plus rating for them to get a good guy, but not a great guy. Minnesota Vikings, they got two guys I really feel. This is why I'm wearing an Adrian Peterson Minnesota Vikings jersey, because I feel like this is a team that had the best first round draft of anybody. They had 2 picks. They only had one at first, but they reached back in. And they had 2 picks, and they go in, they trade the 25th pick to the 49ers to get the 31st pick, because the 49ers wanted to move up, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But with the 22nd pick, they picked Justin Jefferson, the wide receiver from LSU. A pretty great pick there. It's a guy that can play wherever you want him on the field. That gives Kirk Cousins an option of somebody to throw to. And then they went ahead with the 31st pick, picked up Jeff Gladney, a defensive back from TCU. A slight bit of a reach, but it's the second to last pick in round 1. So Gladney has a grade, round 2 grade, gets taken in round 1. But with CBs flying off the board at that point, it kind of justifies grabbing him now versus waiting and seeing if you can get an early pick in round 2 to grab him. So Gladney defended some high-powered, high-octane offenses in the Big 12. He knows how to defend the pass. He knows how to defend really good quarterbacks. He's gone up against some really good ones over the years. So the defensive back from TCU and Gladney and Jefferson from LSU, I felt like with those 2 picks, that Minnesota had the best draft in round 1. So I give them an A+ rating today for last night's picks. And this is the first of 2 really surprising ones. The New Orleans Saints came in. They had the benefit of not really having any needs aside from filling depth in this draft, so they kind of could just do what they want. But this was probably the one pick that surprised everybody. They went ahead and picked Cesar Ruiz, a center from Michigan. And this is the best center in the draft. But the Packers traded up in round 1 to get a center last year, and he started 16 games. So they're set at center. So the idea is that this guy might either be their backup center, or maybe he's moving in to one of the guard spots in the future. So not a bad selection for New Orleans, because they didn't have a lot of needs, but kind of a head scratcher as why you take him here, because you probably could have gotten him in round 2 if you wanted to, if you wanted him that badly. But I give them a B- grade for this pick, simply because it just seemed like the wrong place to take him, and it didn't seem like it filled a need. But yeah, B- pick, because it's a good pick, but not a great pick. The Green Bay Packers, this was the shocker of the draft, I think, for a lot of people, aside from the Saints pick. But Green Bay pulled the same move on Aaron Rodgers today, last night, that they pulled on Brett Favre in 2005 when they traded back into round 1 and grabbed Aaron Rodgers and stunned Brett Favre. 15 years later, they pulled the same move on Aaron Rodgers. They traded into round 1 and grabbed Jordan Love, the quarterback from Utah. And Love had a great year in 2018, not so great year in 2019. Exposed a lot of his weaknesses and faults, which had him dropping this far in the draft. So he gets. I like this pick for one reason and one reason only, in the sense that this is the perfect spot for Jordan Love to end up if he wants to be an NFL quarterback, and that's because he gets the benefit of sitting behind Aaron Rodgers for a couple of years before the Packers really need him to step into that role. Or maybe he goes somewhere else and steps into a starter role. But he gets to play under the same guy and learn from a guy that played behind and learned from the legendary Brett Favre. So I think if I'm Jordan Love, I'm excited about this pick, because it means I have an opportunity to learn so much and hopefully move into a pretty promising role future. So I give him a B minus simply because it doesn't fulfill a need, but it's still an intriguing selection, and it's the best fit for Jordan Love at this point. The Seattle Seahawks, they picked up Jordan Brooks with their only pick in round 1, a linebacker from Texas Tech. Now, they needed pass rushers, but Patrick Queen was available, but then again, he's an inside linebacker, the best inside linebacker in the draft. They needed an outside linebacker, so Jordan Brooks becomes the guy. Brooks has been the leading tackler at Texas Tech. He's 7th all-time in tackles at Texas Tech, but he led the team in tackles in 16, 18, and 19. So three of the 4 years that he was there, he led the team in tackles. So definitely a pass rusher and a tackling machine that fulfills a really big need for the Seattle Seahawks. I give them a B grade for this pick simply because Queen I thought was a better linebacker on the board, but they went and got Brooks, and Brooks is a solid guy. So, but a B rating for them to fulfill a need there. The Baltimore Ravens, of course, they get Patrick Queen, the inside linebacker from LSU, the best middle linebacker in the draft, and definitely a steal at 28, if I'm being honest, because he's projected as a day 1 starter on a team that was this close to playing in the Super Bowl. So, undersized, but fills a big need on defense. They lost a couple of linebackers in free agency, so this is a good spot for Patrick Queen, and a good pick for Baltimore. And I think it's both sides are going to be really excited about this pick in a couple of years, and we might look back and see this guy as another Terrell Suggs, another Ray Lewis, a guy that has a great career at linebacker for the Baltimore Ravens, a team that's known for its linebackers. And last but not least, in terms of teams that had picks in round 1, the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champions, they went out and got, with the 32nd and final pick in round 1, I looked at this pick and thought, look who's on the board. And no running backs have been taken at this point in the draft. So you had DeAndre Swift from Georgia, and you had, what's his name? Come on now. J.K. Dobbins, J.K. Dobbins from Ohio State, and a lot of Ohio State guys came off the board. So J.K. Dobbins would have been really cool to see him go, but DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 3 running backs on the board. So you thought, you know what, Kansas City doesn't have a lot of needs to spend as Super Bowl champions. Grab another running back to play all over the field, and I really thought, okay, DeAndre Swift was the guy they're going to go with because he fits their offense. He's fast. He's good. He's got some speed. He's swifty. He lives up to his name. He's swifty. He can shift and move and all that stuff. But the Super Bowl champions decided they wanted to go with the more speedy and versatile, much shorter 5'7" running back from SEC rival LSU, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So I love the pick. A little bit of